Hey everyone, welcome to another Open Cluster Management Community Meetings. Today is April the 26th, 2024, and today we're excited to be announcing 0.13.2 release, or at least that's what we're planning to do. It's quite nice that we're able to do this release because there is a demand from the community, which is really good. It means that our community usage is picking up. To talk more about this release, Qiu please feel free to take it away. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So as you know that I think it's in the last month we released 0.91 to fix some bugs. But there are still some other remaining thing that we need to do in the 0. After the release of 0.91. So that's the reason that we are going to release 0.92. The 0.92 will also contain only some bug fixes. After 0.91. Not, I think it's add-on framework 0.92, sorry. But for the OCM, it is 0.13.2. So there are two release notes currently. One is in the add-on framework and another in the OCM repo. For the add-on framework, there are two bugs that has been going to be fixed. One is that we found that during the rolling upgrade, there probably will have some issues because we didn't remove the annotations on the manifest work. And um, that's bug that's this PR 261 to resolve. Another error, it's not a bug, but we found that when we starting to let the add-on framework to support the customized agent install namespace in 0.9, but the return of the function that we put is not very friendly, especially it doesn't return the error. So sometimes it will have like weird behavior. For example, when there with the when the when the add-on framework doesn't find the right config, or the config, for example, the config is not found, or the get return an unexpected error, the add-on framework will try to clean the namespace or use old namespace of original one, and that or use the default namespace, which is cluster management agent add-on. And in that way, the agent will be like flip between the namespace that you customize in the add-on deployment config, or and then back to the default namespace. So that's a unexpected behavior. So that's the reason that we add an arrow, um, return arrow in this install namespace function. So the framework and the developer of the add-on can be easier to handle the different cases. So this is for the add-on framework and for the OCM. For the OCM, we have another release draft here. It's just one error, that is to add the mission registration group into the work execution cluster role. So in that way, it is easy to I think it's for the webhook configuration, etc., to be applied onto the managed cluster using the manifest work. And I haven't started the tag, the cluster ADM, because I also need to put another PR to update the image tag in the cluster ADM. But there are also several different bug that that needs to be fixed. The most important one is this one we found that there's a regression bug, like the Siegel enabled flag is removed in the AMD64 before in the 0.91, but it introduced a issue that in the different kernel versions of Linux, the class ADM will show a glibc error. So we add this back to ensure that it will not happen. And there are some other things like reported in the issue list, including some agent namespace issues or the CRD install error issue when run the class ADM join with dry run flag. So I think for the class ADM patch release, we will include all the PR that fix those bugs in a patch release of the class ADM. So I think that's the overview of this patch release that include basically that is OCM
Okay.
0.13.2. So that's all. Any questions? Any comments?
Yeah, I saw something interesting. If you go to the OCM repo and then you go to the release, I know you haven't done the release yet, but I think because we did some cherry picking, it
Yeah.
automatically created a draft. Like I'm not sure if you're aware of this. This is kind of nice. Like I don't know, it's the GitHub action automatically created when we did the cherry pick that one time when we were on the meeting. Oh, so yeah,
Oh,
that's what I noticed.
yeah, this one is created by the one of the GitHub actions um we used. So we have a GitHub action called release action. So release actions will run a script that we built to pick. So this one, like they will connect to the GitHub, call the GitHub API to collect all the PRs between two tags and generate a change log. And then use this GitHub release actions to draft a release. Um, yeah, so that's basically uh, a, a release script that we built.
But I thought usually that only kicks off when we, submit a tag or something. But
Oh, yeah,
that
we
okay.
yes, and actually that only happens when we tag. So currently it's already have a tag here. It's just
Oh, okay.
the release has not been published yet.
I got it. I got it. Thank you, Keisha. Yeah, I was just wondering.
As for the content, it seems just to that duplicated had animation registration group in the bug fix and what was changed. Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
expected?
Yes. So that's a lit so if we see the a major release that will not be duplicated. But for major release, we will classify the different PR typing based on the titles into different category. And so you can see different PRs like the new feature bug fixes. And but there are still what's changed. The what's changed part is in general, it's not generated by our script. It's generated by the GitHub release action to call the one of the functions in the GitHub to automatically generate the release. So it doesn't have the category like what's a bug, what's a feature, but it will just list all the PRs that has been merged in this release. And the GitHub itself will also like to extract the new contributors in this based on this PR list. And so from here, so from what's changed to the till, this part is generated by the GitHub, one of the GitHub features. And what our script did is based on the PR list here. After the what's changed, we categorize them to like different category.
Okay. So is it necessary to show the what's changed because it's
I
included in the new feature and bug fixes and other categories?
yeah, I want to show the new contributors like for each
Oh,
release, but
yeah.
it
Okay.
seems that we cannot only show new contributors except the what's changed. So these two parts are grouped together.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
So if there are no questions, I will stop sharing. I will starting to release it in the this today on the add-on framework and OCM and then the cluster EDM.
Thank you, Qzhen.
No problem. Thank you. I will stop sharing.
Qzhen, do you think I should give a little shout out to the cluster profile PR as well, on the discussion we're having in the Kubernetes 6 about the cluster inventory API, or what we call it, cluster profile now?
Yeah, that would be great.
I heard you smiling. I know what you're hinting at, but yeah, let me share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so um, we had the idea of creating a standardized sort of multi-cluster cluster API. So originally we call it cluster inventory API, but you know, cluster inventory is a list. It's not that nice. So now we switch it to inventory cluster API. But then we got some feedback as well. So now we finally decide on cluster profile API. But anyways, so this cluster profile API is supposed to be more of a standardized API to represent a cluster in a multi-cluster deployment. So we have in OCM we have the managed cluster, and then in other products they have their own cluster, sort of like CRD to represent a cluster. So we kind of want to standardize. We kind of want to standardize it so that the consumer, instead of having to import a OCM or the other projects, multi-cluster projects, APIs, they can just import from a place from the Kubernetes 6, which is more, it's better for the consumers because, you know, there's some standardization and they don't have to, they can sort of expect to have a more stable API that others sort of adopt and follow. So with the CAP being merged, we're trying to create the CRD implementation. So the CRD implementation is based on the CAP, but there were also a lot of feedbacks. Some of the changes that we might need to reflect back into the CAP, but some of them are not in the CAP, and there's some heavy discussions as well. So one of the most highly debated topic is, should this API be a cluster scope or namespace scope? And in the CAP, we didn't really mention the cluster scope or the namespace scope because in the CAP we said, hey, this API is not meant just for a Kubernetes CRD. It can be a a REST API somewhere on the server, somewhere on a REST server. It doesn't have to be a native Kubernetes CRD. So that sort of pushes the CRD implementation decision of cluster scope versus namespace scope a little bit. So that is other feedback is still okay, but this one is the most heavily debated and then we sort of even jump to a document here where we have a whole bunch of discussion. So if you're interested in getting involved in this project, please feel free to head over to the cluster inventory API repo under Kubernetes SIG and check out the pull request for the CRD implementation. And once again, so it's called the cluster profile, and the repo is cluster inventory API, which is okay because cluster inventory is still a very good concept to have. Like there can be an inventory, and within the inventory, you can have cluster profile, multiple cluster profiles, and maybe you have more different things in that inventory in the future. So it's okay that the repo continue to be named cluster inventory API, while for this particular CRD to be called cluster profile. So anyways, that hopefully that cleared up the little bit of confusion of why the repo names like that and the CRD is like that, and then the CAP is a different name. But the CAP also, I also have a PR to on the CAP to rework the name of the API. That being said, are there any questions? No questions, good too. If you're interested, please feel free to take a look. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, I think that's all the topics we have today on the agenda. Are there any other topics anyone want to share, discuss? QJang, anything last minute things?
No, I think the only thing is so we are preparing some KubeCon topic for the KubeCon China hosted in August. So I think majorly those topics are uh those topics relates to like what the AI workload can be run in a multi-cluster. I think something maybe in the future meeting we can take a quick look on those topics and have some discussions.
That's a great idea, QJang. Thank you. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you everyone for joining. See you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye.